Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, everyone, we're about an hour after market close on Monday, August 16th. We're going to take our Monday look at Palantir. And now, to clarify that, we cover Palantir every Monday, so hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, but you enjoy seeing videos about Palantir. If you'd like to see Palantir covered more frequently, also feel free to let me know that in the comments. All right, so this is the chart that we've been watching on Palantir for a while. Obviously, this big gap up after earnings. Really excellent earnings report, in my opinion. Sort of par for the course with Palantir, what you would anticipate and expect at this point. So we'll see how that plays out in the future. But for the time being, the couple of interesting things that I note. So the volume was over 189 million on this day. We jumped up over 11% and then peeled back to a little over 52 million, still up just a penny the following day, and then came down today about 1.61% on just shy of 46 million. And so we do see the volume coming down as the buying pressure subsides, but to me that's sort of in line with exactly what you'd want to see. So you see the buying pressure gets the biggest gain on the highest volume days, and then when the rollback or the retracement does occur, that volume is just diminishing, because that then leaves the door open, in my opinion, for larger buys to come in the coming days as a floor is sort of established, sort of say, okay, given the most recent earnings report and the reaction to it, here's the appropriate level for the time being, and then let's build off of that as we approach then the next earnings report. But additionally interesting to me, what we've been looking at here, if you're not familiar, is an extension level. So this is a Fibonacci extension level. So taken here from 1706 at the low to 2750 at the high, this being one major impulsive wave up, and then a retracement came back down to $20.55. And now, if it can extend from that retracement level, that's the extension portion, what I'm looking for, if this is a true extension, that to me is still the question, would be for it to reach this 100% extension level, $30.99. And it's interesting to me that when it had this major gap up, that it basically sat on that 38.2 extension level. And even with the dying down of the buying pressure and then the selling pressure that we saw today, it still is just sitting on that level. So to me, that's a very good sign. If this could be the floor at the moment, then that to me opens the door for a run potentially in the coming days, maybe weeks. We know that Palantir has had plenty of times in the past when it's just sort of sat in a short, like a small range, a confined range for a lengthier period of time than anyone thought it would. And so I don't discount the possibility there. But that would be the thing that I'm next going to be looking for, and then that could crack the door open for run to 27. Now, as we approach getting support of that 27, that might be additionally difficult, in my opinion, because of the topping out here, which if we flip back, this was also an area in which it topped out in March, mid-March, and also where it topped out in late February. And it had previous support there toward the beginning in mid-February, and then it just had lost that level of support, which then just flipped to resistance, which it still is running into, even in its most recent impulsive move up. So that's sort of the coming bullish scenario in my mind. Now, if this comes back down and retests this 2301, then to me it would sort of take off the table the idea that there's a fib, like an actual fib extension that's going to be happening here, and we'll then sort of just get this off the chart, stop clogging up, and go back and look for additional potential trends that are forming or have formed, and or supply and demand areas, which is what we see here with this red and this blue. A lot of demand historically in this purple area, and then a lot of supply historically in this red area. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in the coming days and weeks. Now on the indicator side of things, to see where we might be headed, nice bullish crossover here on the MACD that was prior to earnings. So we did have a nice little run up to earnings, then obviously have popped since then. Now, we see the MACD here was at 0.16 and now has jumped up to 0.26. Now, the MACD is still continuing to rise, is the moral of the story there, on this red day. So to me, that typically would be a pretty significant bullish sign, considered a bullish divergence, when the price action is closing lower, but the MACD continues to rise. So this has me interested in taking additional positions tomorrow as long as there's a show of strength. I'll be really considering adding to my longer term Palantir position at this level, given that bullish divergence, and be really interested to see how it can play out from there. Now, the other factor here is that is amplified in my experience, that bullish divergence is additionally powerful when we're in an overall bullish trend, meaning price action is above the 200 moving average. And in this case, we see that it is. But this is the red line here is the 200 MA, and that is sitting at $24.03. So we're pretty well above it at the moment. And so this could be a further sign to me that there are some good potential bullish days ahead. But obviously, you have to keep a close eye on anything and see what's happening in real time. Now, what I could see happening here is if we do continue to curl down here on the RSI, make a little bit of a test of the midline here at the 50, and then maybe bounce off and make a run toward overbought. Now, that could play out very quickly. It could take a while to kind of settle in. I don't know. But the longer that any of this takes to settle in, the less of this bullish momentum that we're going to have, and then therefore that bullish divergence could potentially not play out. So hopefully the RSI doesn't have to curl down and test that midline, but if it does, that could kind of squash the momentum that we have here and the impact of this bullish divergence. So I'm hoping that from here it can just sort of have this having been a little bit of a stutter step and then have a nice push upward. Maybe we'll get some analysts coming in to provide additional ratings and upper price targets that move the market a bit, and or institutional buying, what have you. Now, to that end, we have seen large scale orders coming out, more outsized than we have in the past, but this could be institutions kind of locking in profit. That was a large gap up. So to the extent to which they had a bunch of meat on the bone, because maybe they had bought in during this run up, maybe they had bought in near the low down here, and then they were up, double digits, solid double digits gain. Maybe it was just a good time to peel off and see where the market would price Palantir after this earnings report, and then kind of decide where to go from there. So if the price does stabilize, or if that bullish divergence does push it up, maybe we'll see these flip pretty quickly into large-scale inflows with institutions and other folks who purchase in large quantities coming in to try to catch the next wave. But that will sort of be determined in the next few days. Now, lastly, just a quick look at Ortex here. This is why I would like to see some analysts coming in to make some decisions based on the most recent earnings report, because this is where we're situated right now, which doesn't feel to me to be accurately reflective, but par for the course in Palantir, in my opinion. Analysts, for whatever reason, have never been super bullish, in my opinion, on Palantir. Well, I guess it's not in my opinion. You see 3 sells, 5 holds, and 1 buy. So I think that probably speaks for itself. But also, media coverage has often been really not friendly to Palantir for whatever reason. So, take that for what you will. But the other thing to keep an eye on here is the short interest, and really it's a whole bunch of nothing at the moment. So as long as the shorts kind of stay out of it, that would be my strong preference, to not introduce any sort of selling distorted selling pressure into Palantir, and have anything sort of get out of whack from the supply and demand side, at least from an optics perspective, which is what short selling often does, just infuses this artificial selling pressure into the marketplace. Now, if it doesn't have a bunch of organic selling pressure, then I wouldn't anticipate them to jump in at the moment. If we do see a good push up, especially a push that does anything like makes an attempt at that $30.99 level that I was talking about, you definitely might see shorts piling in along the way as they start to feel that Palantir is overextended. Additionally, you may see them coming in more strongly as we approach this red box. You know, they obviously would know as well that this is a previous area of a lot of supply and that it could push the price down off it. So they might be looking to come in and play the reaction to an additional topping out period there. So things to look for in the future, but moral of the story for me at the moment, I like where it's settling. If it can continue to settle there and or bounce off, and I really like the bullish divergence on the MACD. Again, this candlestick moving down while the MACD moves up from 0.16 to 0.26 on a selling day. All right, well, that will do it for this one. I certainly appreciate you watching, and again, stop back here every Monday if you like seeing Palantir analysis videos. Drop a comment below if you'd like to see me do Palantir more frequently. I wouldn't necessarily mind it, but I don't want to be putting things out into the void, of course. Well, I hope your trading week got off to a good start today, and I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.